Hi there, this is Mental Mike, and this is Podcast 5. This podcast is going to introduce you more to the quantum level of UFM. It's going to help you to be able to associate how we integrate quantum physics with neurochemistry, with personality theory, and how the parent, adult, and child aspects of transactional analysis are blended in with everything that happens with you as the client. And what I'm hoping here is that this particular podcast will help to bring to the forefront what you've gotten familiarized with, but put it together in more holistic terms with you as a human being. And then Marcus is going to step in and at the end of this and relate this podcast to situations that happened to him in his life. Thank you.
You've looked at the shadow, all those rejected parts of yourself you try to hide. You've examined archetypes, complexes.
And those complexes, just as a refresher, are like these emotional landmines from your past that still dictate your reactions today.
Exactly. And you've had the courage to look at projection, to see when you're putting your own stuff onto other people.
Yeah. That
kind of vulnerability. Well, that's the definition of courage.
Absolutely. We have to honor that because now in week 5, we're at a truly pivotal moment.
This is the bridge.
It is. It's the bridge between awareness, knowing what's going on, and real sustainable transformation, knowing how to change it.
Right. We're moving from insight to application, and we're going to do that by integrating everything you've learned so far into the core philosophy of this work, the Unified Flux Model. The UFM.
Which was developed by Mental Mike. And it's worth taking a moment to acknowledge his work. I mean, we're talking over 30 years in the field, 4 master's degrees.
It's an incredible body of work. What makes the UFM so, I think, revolutionary is how it pulls together quantum physics, neuroscience, and, real personal empowerment.
It's a powerful mix. So the mission for this week, using the UFM, is to really grasp that recovery isn't just about managing symptoms. It's not about willpower.
No, it's about realigning with the fundamental flow of energy, of consciousness. It's accepting that your patterns are what have disconnected you from that natural current.
So the UFM starts with this idea that everything, existence itself, is just energy in constant motion.
It's an ancient spiritual truth, really, but now it's being confirmed by modern physics. You aren't some static thing defined by a diagnosis. You are a dynamic, changing field of life force.
And there's that beautiful line in the material that really grounds this idea.
Oh, the stardust.
Yeah. You are literally made of stardust. Your atoms were forged in stars. You're living on borrowed molecules, borrowed time.
And that's not just poetry. It's a reminder that you're deeply fundamentally interconnected with everything. When you disconnect from yourself, you're disconnecting from the entire universe.
So if we look at ourselves that way as energetic beings, how does Mental Mike define addiction?
He sees it not as a moral failure, not at all, but as a severe energetic disruption.
A blockage.
Exactly. Think of your life force as a river. A healthy river flows. It's clear. It's powerful. But addiction chokes that river with debris. It becomes stagnant, toxic water where, suffering just thrives.
That analogy makes so much sense. So the 3 core principles of the UFM, the things to hold on to, are what?
First, you are energy in motion, not a fixed, broken diagnosis. Second, everything is interconnected, so your healing actually helps heal the whole system.
And third,
your patterns are just energetic blockages. And the whole point of recovery is simply to restore that flow.
Okay, so let's bring this from, quantum physics down to our internal reality. We need a way to see where the blockage is actually happening inside us.
And that's where the UFM uses transactional analysis, TA. Specifically, the parent, adult, and child ego states. It gives us a map to the internal conflict.
Let's start with the parent state, the internalized authority figure.
Right. It's this whole archive of rules and judgments we absorbed growing up. And while there's a nurturing parent in addiction, it's almost always the critical parent that has the microphone.
And that voice is just relentless. It's that internal monologue of shame saying, you're a failure, you'll never change. It's the fuel for that stagnation we were talking about.
Precisely. And the UFM connects this straight to neuroscience, which is fascinating. That critical parent voice is rooted in your prefrontal cortex, the part that handles self-referential thoughts and enforces rules.
So your own brain is basically locked in this loop, judging you constantly.
It is. It's an overdrive.
Which brings us to the adult state, The part that's supposed to be the rational CEO of your mind.
The integrator. The one that processes reality objectively and makes intentional decisions.
But in active addiction, that adult state is severely weakened. It's like the CEO has been starved and deprived of sleep for years. The ability to think about consequences, to plan, it's just gone.
And the science on this is so clear. The UFM material points out that the adult state relies on a part of the brain called the dorsolateral PFC.
For working memory, for reasoning.
Right. And chronic substance use literally decreases activity in that exact region. So trying to use willpower when that part of your brain is depleted.
It's like trying to start a car with a dead battery. The craving hits, your emotional brain is screaming, and the CEO, the adult, can barely whisper.
Which leads us to that emotional brain, the engine of all this.
Yeah.
The child state.
This is where the emotion, the impulse, the vulnerability, all our deep wounds live. And we're really talking about the adapted child here, the part that learns survival skills. And its main survival skill is seeking immediate relief from distress.
Through the addictive pattern, yes. It's rooted in the limbic system.
Yeah.
Your brain's reward and fear center. When that system is dysregulated, the cravings feel like a matter of life and death.
So the cycle is clear. The impulsive, wounded child screams for relief. The punitive, critical parent shames you for it. And the depleted adult is just overridden. Complete energetic stagnation.
But the good news is, once you can see that cycle, you can start to change it. And that brings us to the real action for this week. Naming and owning your patterns.
Addiction absolutely thrives in secrecy. In denial. The critical parent tells you to hide everything, because if people really saw you, they'd judge you.
So naming a pattern is the first huge step into the light. It's an act of conscious awareness. You can't change course until you admit the ship is off course.
And this is more than just labeling something, it's a cognitive shift.
It really is. When you name a pattern, you activate the language centers of your brain. You engage the adult ego state, the very one we want to strengthen.
So instead of just drowning in this raw anxiety, you can step back and articulate, okay, this is my avoidance pattern. I am using this substance to avoid feeling judged.
Yes, that simple act creates distance. It makes you the observer of the pattern, not a victim trapped inside it.
And the UFM says, to be specific here, don't just say, I have anxiety. Name the triggers. Is it stress? Boredom? Name the emotional patterns. Do you numb out? Do you explode?
The more specific you are, the more power your adult state reclaims.
Yeah.
And once you name it, the next critical step is to own it.
And Mental Mike makes a really important distinction here between toxic shame and empowering accountability.
What's the most important distinction? Shame says, I am bad. It's about your identity. It's paralyzing. It creates that dense, heavy, stagnant energy.
Whereas accountability, that's active. It's forward-looking.
Exactly. Accountability says, I did this behavior, and because I did it, I have the power to change it. It creates movement. It aligns with the U of M's concept of flow.
It turns you from a victim of your past into the creator of your future.
And the Unified Flux Model says, this owning has to happen on 3 essential levels for it to be truly healing. First, you have to own it to yourself.
That's the inventory work, the honest reflection in your study guide.
Right. Building that internal integrity. Then the second level is owning it to a higher power or to the UFM itself.
Which can be tough for people.
It can. But the UFM frames this as surrender. It's recognizing you can't do this with ego strength alone. It's about aligning with that universal current, that river, and letting it carry some of the weight.
And the third level, the one everyone dreads.
Owning it to another person. This is the most terrifying, but it's also the most healing step. It's what breaks the isolation. It shatters the secrecy.
But the fear is so real. What if I tell them my deepest truth and they reject me? How does the UFM advise someone to navigate that?
The point isn't to control their reaction. The point is to restore your own integrity. When you share with a trusted person, a sponsor, a therapist who can listen without judgment, you get what's called a corrective emotional experience.
You show them the part you're most ashamed of.
And you are seen and accepted anyway. That single experience starts to rewire those old brain pathways of unworthiness that the critical parent has been reinforcing for years.
That must free up a tremendous amount of energy.
It does. The ultimate goal here is transparency. When your inner world and your outer world are aligned, you free up all the energy you were spending on hiding, on lying, on managing secrets, and you need that energy for your recovery.
And once we bring these patterns out of the dark, it connects us right back to where we started this whole journey, the shadow.
Yes, all those rejected parts of yourself. The UFM is clear that you have to integrate them because addiction is so often just a tool to keep them suppressed.
So if you think anger is bad, you numb it. If you think vulnerability is weak, you suppress it. What does integration look like?
It means transforming that energy. Integration isn't about accepting harmful behavior. It's about finding the healthy expression of the energy underneath it. So suppressed anger that leads to an explosion can be integrated and transformed into conscious assertiveness, healthy boundaries.
You're using the energy as fuel instead of trying to extinguish it.
Exactly. And when you do that, you build real emotional resilience. You're no longer wasting energy running from yourself. You have your full self available to you.
This holistic view seems to lead naturally to the concept of faith in the UFM. We said the higher power concept can be a block for some people.
It can. And the UFM offers an alternative. Faith as alignment with reality itself, alignment with the flux.
It honors all spiritual paths, really, from Taoism to Buddhism. They all point to this same interconnected flow. It's the idea that you are part of something so much bigger than yourself.
And if that feels too big, too cosmic, where do you start? You start small. Faith begins with having faith in yourself.
How do you do that when your self-trust is shattered?
You rebuild it through consistent, small actions. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, reading one page, going to one meeting, you are laying down another brick of reliable internal faith.
This is a huge milestone. If you followed along, you've now completed the entire foundational phase of this curriculum, weeks 1 through 5. The foundation is now solid.
And as you move into the exercises this week, just remember what the UFM teaches. Recovery isn't a destination. It's an ongoing process of alignment.
You don't have to force the river.
You just have to clear the debris. You name the patterns, you own them, you integrate them, and the transformation happens organically. The current finds its own way to the sea.
The exercises in the study guide, like the energetic inventory mapping, are there to help you build those new neural pathways and keep your current strong.
So as you go through your week, carry this one final thought with you. It's a reflection prompt straight from the UFM material.
What is one pattern or aspect of yourself that you have been avoiding? And what would it feel like to no longer be controlled by this pattern? What would become possible if you could express this energy in a healthy, conscious way?
And remember this, always, you are not broken. You are a conscious, dynamic expression of the universal life force, and you have everything inside you that you need to reclaim your life.
Trust yourself. Trust the process. Trust the current. Talk soon.
You know what hit me hardest about this podcast? Not even the addiction part. It was hearing them talk about patterns like they're different from identity. Man, I don't think I ever separated those before. Where I grew up, what you did became who you were real fast. You mess up enough, that becomes your name. And after a while, you stop introducing yourself any other way. I've been carrying that most of my life. Not just addiction, anger, distance, shutting down, acting like I don't need people. I thought that was just me. Listening tonight, I started wondering if maybe some of that wasn't personality. Maybe it was survival. That part about the child state hit me hard. Because I learned real early how to shut emotions off. Where I came from, being emotional got treated like weakness, so I got real good at looking calm, even when I was falling apart. I can't count how many times somebody asked if I was okay. And I said yeah, automatically, while already planning how I was gonna get high later. That became the routine. Hold everything in all day, then disappear. After enough years of doing that, you stop knowing what you actually feel. You just know pressure, noise in your chest. That critical parent voice they talked about. Yeah, I know that voice. You should already have your life together. You keep screwing everything up. People gonna find out who you really are. Crazy thing is, I thought being hard on myself was helping. I thought shame was accountability, but it wasn't. It just kept me hidden. That's why the secrecy got so bad, because once shame gets deep enough, you stop asking for help. You start managing appearances instead. I got good at that. Going to work, paying bills, making jokes, acting normal. Meanwhile, my whole internal life was collapsing. There was this night, I remember it clear. 2 in the morning, sitting in my bathroom with the lights off, just staring at the floor. And I remember thinking, if people knew how bad this really is, I become the problem. So instead, I kept hiding and kept functioning, kept pretending, honestly, pretending drained more energy than the addiction sometimes. That part about naming patterns, I didn't realize how powerful that is, because I always stayed vague. I'm stressed, I'm struggling, nah. The truth was, I was avoiding people, avoiding emotions, avoiding silence, avoiding myself, and substances became the shortcut, not because getting high even felt good anymore, but because I didn't know how to sit with myself sober. That's hard to admit, because eventually addiction stops feeling exciting. It just feels familiar, like something you keep returning to because you forgot how to exist without it. And hearing them explain that cycle tonight, the child wanting relief, the parent bringing shame, the adult too exhausted to intervene, that was the first time addiction ever actually made psychological sense to me. Not excuse making, understanding there's a difference. Maybe that's why something shifted tonight. Because I spent years calling myself broken. But broken things don't usually fight this hard to survive. Maybe damaged, maybe disconnected, maybe scared, but not broken. That part about alignment stayed with me too, about clearing debris instead of forcing the river. Man, I've been fighting myself so long, I forgot what flow even feels like. Everything became resistance, every emotion, every relationship, every honest conversation, just resistance. But tonight, for the first time in a long time, I started wondering what happens if I stop fighting myself quite so hard. Not giving up, just stopping the war inside my own head. I'm not cured, I'm not transformed overnight. That's not real life, but I think something became clearer tonight. I think hiding patterns keeps them alive. Naming them changes the relationship, owning them changes the direction. And honestly, that feels different than shame. Shame made me smaller. This feels steady. Like maybe I can actually work with this instead of drowning in it. Maybe recovery starts there. Not motivation speeches. Not pretending everything's fixed. Just finally telling the truth. And staying in the room afterward. Yeah, maybe that's it.